And today we are talking about a very interesting topic. This is about how every company can build an inclusive culture from day one. So, for the people who are watching me live, please put your comments, thoughts, and questions wherever you are watching. It can be on LinkedIn or on YouTube. And if there's anything interesting that I find, I will definitely pull it up and answer your questions. So, inclusivity as a concept is kind of like the buzzword. It has been the buzzword for a while now. But a lot of people don't really understand what it means. What does it mean to be inclusive? What does it mean to have a culture? Right? So, whether we believe it or not, every company has a culture. Every company has um, that that feeling, right? That there's an underground feeling of being in that specific company, and most companies have like a unique kind of a feeling. It is the vibe that you get when you walk into an organization, when you walk into an office, when you enter a call with the specific team members of that company. They send a certain kind of a energy your way, and that is the energy that dictates how you feel as a business partner, or as a collaborator of that company. It dictates how you feel as someone who's going to work there, or is already working there. And obviously it dictates how you engage with them. It dictates how you what kind of it's going to have on you, right? So these are all important things to notice. Now, something that has been the talk of the town is whenever we talk about culture, there's always a thing about good culture and bad culture. I don't like to put it in a very black and white way. Yes, of course there is, if you look at it that way, there's a positive, negative to everything. But I think something that goes wrong is that um, people, or the management, or the founders, or the people sitting the top, who are kind of building that culture, or knowingly unknowingly, they end up hiring people who don't really vibe or don't really fit that culture. The compatibility between the people that they are hiring, or the teams that they are building, or the people that they are collaborating with don't really go along with the culture that they already have. For example, if the company is in the 0 to 1 stage, and they need people to hustle, they need people to work overtime, they need people to um, really pull in those hours, with the promise of a brighter pay, a brighter work life balance in the future, then they should hire people with that kind of hunger. What they do is they hire people who maybe are seniors, who maybe have a higher pay package, maybe have some something else going on in their lives. They need a certain kind of a work life balance, they need a certain kind of a culture, and they don't say this upfront. And they get these talent into their work stream, into their workplaces, and then they realize that there's something going on. These people are not fitting in with the rest of the people, of course, right? Because you're building a culture of hustle. Again, there is no right or wrong here, but the kind of people you're getting in are not in that phase of their life, right? So every company has a culture from day one, but the idea is, have you been building this intentionally, or is this happening by accident, right? And the other thing is, also notice that if you feel like, hey, I don't have to pay attention to culture, let's just build on their own, I have other things to think about, then okay, fine. But you can ignore it in the beginning, but eventually this is going to be a big problem. So many people that I see here are struggling because of HR issues, because of people issues, right? There are many big companies who have huge people teams, because guess what? AI cannot fix people problems. You need a real person to fix people problems. So why even let it go there when you can create a culture um, that is for you, right? That does not have the kind of problems that you see, that you don't struggle with later on, and that people are happy, engaged, and they are working there not against their own will. A lot of people are kind of just going through the motions and just waiting to get a different job offer, waiting to walk out the doors because the compatibility is not there. What if you're able to create and build that compatibility, build that culture, and get in the right people through the door, so you don't have to struggle so much, so you don't have to look like a bad guy? Yeah. All right. So the first thing I want to say is normalize asking, listening, and learning before people feel excluded. So a lot of times you see in meeting rooms, in conversations, in negotiations, in presentation boardrooms, there is only a certain kind of a person or certain types of people who are always speaking, sharing their point of views, sharing what's going on. Um, and the rest of the people don't really talk, right? So there's certain kind of exclusion that happens in each of these rooms, whether you have a team of 5 or you have a team of 50. There will be people who feel excluded from time and again, because the way we are building these teams is meant and designed for a certain kind of person. It's like, when you go to school and college, the teacher or the professor is only teaching the front couple of rows, and they're not able to understand how to articulate, how to communicate with the people in the backside of the classroom, because the way you have to reach out to them, the way you have to communicate with them, the way you have to understand them is different, right? So our modes of communication as an organization, as leaders, as founders, as HRs, or as DEI people, culture folks, has to differ when we are in a different kind of people. Which also means that if anyone feels excluded, if anyone feels that they're not part of the conversation, or not their voices are not being heard, they should have a way to say that out and not be penalized for it. Sometimes people have so many of their complaints, and they're like, hey, this is happening to me in the workplace, but I am not able to say anything because this might turn out to be bad for me. That is the feeling that we're trying to avoid. No matter what kind of culture you're building, people should be able to voice their opinions out, whether directly to you, whether anonymously, whether to their manager, to their HR, whoever it is. And that starts when you really listen, when you ask people, when you learn from them without being defensive. If someone says that, hey, I don't, I feel like my voice is not being heard, or I feel like my ideas are not being taken, don't be defensive. Say that, hey, you know we're sorry, and why don't you share it again? Or if you don't want to take their ideas and their opinions and their thoughts or remarks, just tell them why it doesn't hit the mark. There's no charity business here, but you gotta be articulate and communicative enough so they don't feel like either their ideas are not good enough, or you're being biased towards a certain kind of a team member, which it is not them, right? The second thing to note here is build systems that work for different kinds of people, just not the loudest one. It is kind of going hand in hand with the previous point I shared. Um, for the longest part of my life, I've been an introvert. And this is like a very, this is not something that people agree, or they kind of shocked that, yeah, I was an introvert. I took a lot of time to adjust to my surroundings because I always felt overpowered with the extroverts in the room. No hate to y'all, overpowered by the loudest people in the room, and I was never able to share my thoughts um, out loud because there were always people who were overshadowing me, right? So initially, I thought that it is a lack on my part. I need to kind of buckle up, which I did, but also that was too much for me to do at the start of my career when there was so much going on, right? If the system had enabled me to communicate with you the way I wanted to, and for you to get my thoughts out without it being a certain way of communication only, it would have mattered so much to me, right? For example, sometimes you're just if someone says, if when you're having a meeting or a brainstorming session, and someone says that, hey, if you have an idea, please do share it. Sometimes it's your brain freezes, you need some time, right? Instead of that, the manager or the leader says that, hey, um if you have any ideas right now, you can share it, or my DMs and my emails and my Slack channels are open for you to say, let me know, and I would love to pick it up. That gives someone like me, in the past, who was an introvert, some time to think and mull over an idea and share it with you at my own pace and time, without the pressure that I will be judged by five different people in the room, without the pressure that I might be rejected publicly, and I will feel embarrassed. So sometimes the systems have to be built around different types of people. There are all kinds of people, and the introversion extroversion is a very common regular thing I'm sharing. There are queer people, there are women, there are people with disabilities, there are neurodivergent people, there are like people from tier 2 tier 3 cities, there are people who don't speak fluent English, there are people who need a quiet space and time to think and articulate, there are people who are better in their written language than their spoken language. There's so many different kinds of people out there. So the systems of work and comms cannot just be built for one kind of people, because you are hiring for different types of people. You want diverse people to come and um, make your workplace better. You want them to contribute equally, so which means that they will also have some expectations from you to build a system that works for everyone equally, right? Okay, then the third thing to note here is inclusion should show up in calendars, hiring, leave policies, and meetings, not just in presentations. A lot of times companies build these very massive decks. They have pages, they go to conferences and they talk about inclusivity, they talk about culture, they talk about people, but we see that in practice it's not showing up as much, right? There are some calendar events that are excluded. The way they're hiring people are not very diverse. The leave policies don't cover so many different kinds of people who need leaves. um, and even meetings, right, the way the meetings are conducted are also not very inclusive in nature. So so just have an understanding of the diverse group of people that you have and start building your infrastructure, start building your behavior, start building your the way you do work to make sure you accommodate all kinds of people. And I know it might be overwhelming for you. All you got to do is ask, right? The first point that I said, that you should normalize asking, listening, and learning, is when you sit with the kind of people that you have in your team. And this can be done at a microscopic level. Each leader, whether you have a team of 550 or whatever, I'm sure you won't have 50 people under you, but if you have like 10, 15 people, sit with them individually and say that, what is your communication style? How do you like to receive feedback? How would you like me to give you my opinions and thoughts to you? And just have a basic questionnaire there with you, and just or let them know how you work as a leader, and let them tell you what works for them and what doesn't, right? And you might feel this is too much of a thing to manage, but guess what? If you don't do this kind of homework with your team members, the problems that are coming across because of these people who are not able to articulate their thoughts are already there. You're already firefighting these problems. So wouldn't it be easier if you proactively get the data and build a kind of a structure that doesn't have these complications and these thoughts, right? Okay. Another thing to notice here is, I want you to notice who are the people that are getting interrupted, who are the people that are getting celebrated, who are being promoted, and who are being believed. Yeah. So sometimes in a conversation, in a meeting, in a presentation, in a team huddle, there are always the kind of people who will try and share their views, but they get interrupted. I mean, the obvious examples are women. The next obvious examples are people who are more quieter, more like an introverted in nature. The next example could be any minority groups, and you can go on, right? The idea is to create a team where everyone knows that they're all equal, they're all peers, they're all at the same level. Nobody should get an upper hand or a lower hand, right? Again, in terms of celebration and promotions, it should be fair play. If a person is not getting promoted and their peer is getting promoted, do they have an idea, or do they have an explanation? Do they have a reason of why they are not getting promoted, or the peer is getting promoted? Is there like a baseline? Is there like a target sheet? Is there something that is written on paper basis, which is a very black and white way, and nobody feels that it's so unfair just because this person is the boss's favorite, they're getting celebrated and promoted, right? And of course, who is being believed, which also means that the trust factor of the team and the organization has to go way higher. I can see so many people that I speak to do not trust their managers, do not trust their bosses and leaders and colleagues and management. They're just looking for a way out. They're feeling that these people are against us. These people just want to harm us and harm our careers. Why is this feeling going around? Something has gone wrong. What happened that made them believe that, oh, we're not going to end up in their good books? They're never going to believe us, right? So maybe you started at a good note, maybe you started at a fair note, but eventually, things went downwards, right? And they always feel like no matter what I say, I'm never going to get my way. So what's going on there? There's something to explore. And I know at times you might feel like, hey, like, there's too much to do as a manager and as a leader. I don't really want to get into these things, but a major part of being a manager and a leader is culture, is to maintain a certain kind of a team camaraderie, the vibe of the place. It's a huge part of your job, and I don't know why companies are not hammering on that enough. If every team and every leader maintains a certain kind of a culture in their internal microscopic teams, then the overall environment and overall inclusivity factor and overall culture of the entire organization becomes better. It's easier to create a certain kind of a workplace when it's just 5-10 people than trying to change the entire system which comprises of 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 people, right? So if you and I do our work with just the group of people around us and who we work with every single day, then the rest of the company will just follow you. You just might become a good case study for the rest of the people, right? So take that opportunity to build along, right? And of course, the fifth point to notice here is a company becomes inclusive when empathy becomes operational, not occasional. I cannot, I cannot highlight it enough. Basic empathy has gone missing. We are no longer people who primarily care about each other. Why does a workplace need to become a dog eat dog world? It does not. We spend so much of our time at work. We build such crucial relationships at work. So many of us find our forever and ever after at work. Because guess what? That's the only place we're meeting people. A lot of us, we don't have our social lives, right? We're making friends there, we're making enemies there. So the whole ecosystem is inside, it's stuck inside work. Again, I'm not saying good or bad, we're not being a moral police here. Of course, you can find a life outside of work, but the fact of the matter is, we are spending so much time at work, right? So whether we like it or not, things are happening at work. We don't want to work in a place where we have to work like robots, where we're treated like machines, where we are treated like um just another number on a paper. We really want people to care for each other. I really want to see people work in a workplace where there's basic empathy, there's kindness, there's care, there's mutual respect. We can agree to disagree, but we don't have to step on each other's neck to do that, right? So I think empathy and kindness should be the baseline. And I think it should be hammered in every single meeting. I feel like every single meeting, every single conversation should start with some basic rules. Sometimes when I start workshops, I say that, hey, just put your phone on mute, ask questions, be open, you know, kind of, interact and participate. Another word that I will add, and I feel like every one of us should add, is be kind to each other. Be empathetic towards each other. If you want to ask a question, wait for another person to complete their question. Do not interrupt another person. If you disagree with another person's point, put it across in a nicer way. And I know this sounds so obvious. It sounds so like, I mean, Sonali, why are we even doing this moral science class? Are we like in fifth grade? But tell me, all the people that are listening to me, watching me right now, tell me, does this get practice in your organization? I bet not. And even if it does, it doesn't get practice at the level that you want it to get practiced. Kindness, empathy, care, just basic human decency is so rare. And I we ought to bring it back. We ought to bring it back. Yeah. So again, if you have any thoughts, any questions, any comments, please put it out in the comment section. I will pick it up now or later. But the fact of the matter is that people stay where they are respected, where they are seen, where they are able to breathe. Nobody wants to enter a workplace feeling like, oh God, I hate this place. I hate this place. I just don't want to go there. And this is coming from a person who knows exactly how it feels. I have worked in workplaces where I just would try and find excuses not to go. I just would say that I'm not feeling well, or I have a client meeting outside, because I just couldn't stand being in that environment. And I really had to push myself and force myself and mold myself. And I had to remind myself that I have to go for XYZ reasons, for reasons that was beyond my control. And the moment I found an out, I took it. I took it. So if you are an HR founder, manager, leader, you do not want your team to feel like this. And why? Because you don't want to feel like this. Do you want to feel like this? Do you want to walk into a team meeting knowing very well that nobody likes you? Do you want to work in a company that you yourself are building, where you have this feeling that they're all walking on eggshells around you? The moment you turn, they start talking crap about you. You don't want that, right? So, similarly, you gotta create a culture where people are respected, they're seen, and they are able to breathe, where they're not forcing themselves to enter work. They're not crying on a Monday morning, or they're not feeling that weird pit in their stomach and their hearts on Sunday, and they're not desperately counting towards Friday. Yeah. And the way people feel in your company will always shape the way they perform in it. There is enough data to go around and say that when the company and when the organization respects, celebrates, creates an environment where everybody is seen, included, celebrated the right way, they want to put their best foot forward. They want to bring their best selves to work. If I have a manager who who pushes me in the right way, who gives me the right reasons to work, who kind of um, does not belittle me, who encourages me. And mind you, I have had a few of them, very few, but yes, I've had a few of them. I want to do good. I want to come to work on time. I want to perform my best. If I have a team that I absolutely love and adore, which also thankfully I've had the privilege of having, I wanted to do my best, my absolute best. So my team is right on the top. So I have their back. I wanted to show up for them because they showed up for me. And it was not about being transactional. I genuinely cared for them because they genuinely cared for me. So if you want your teams, your organization, people, the guys that you have hired, and the people that you have hired to perform at their optimum level, and to bring you business and profitability, make sure you treat them well, and not just monetarily. Make sure you treat them well as people, as human beings, as the individuals that they are. Right? So that is how you can build an inclusive culture from day one. Right? I hope you had a good time listening to me. My DMs and my email is open for you to chat with me. If you have any questions ever, please feel free to write back to me. I'm gonna put my email in the on the screen here. I would love to hear from you. And thank you so much for listening in. I will bring about more topics like this. If you have a specific topic that you want to suggest, please let me know. This is Sonali signing off.